What's up, dudes? Today we're cut testing with the Divo Knives Mash. This is in 14C 28N blade steel. We got a nice hollow grind with a pretty thin measurement behind the edge, so I was excited to see how this would do. Can we take a moment to appreciate just how smooth this knife is? I mean, look at that. It was smooth right out of the box, but it's really just over time gotten insanely smooth and with zero blade play too. So I love that about the knife. It's got a great detent. I like the knife quite a bit. So we're starting with the regular thickness cardboard here. And it goes through it no problem. Like I always say, when there's a good sharpening choil, you always need to be a little careful not to get caught up in that while you're slicing. Sometimes the cardboard will slide in there and stop your cut. This knife does have a good sharpening choil. So now we're moving on to the double thickness cardboard, and it did pretty well. Not the best knife that I've tested, but definitely not bad at all. I would not call this it didn't do a bad job cutting through this double thickness cardboard. I'll say ergonomically, I'm gripping the knife really hard, pushing through those cuts. Ergonomically, zero hot spots. Really, really a comfortable knife to just grip with all your might. Just zero, absolutely zero hot spot. Cutting some paper after the cardboard to see how we're doing. It's still slicing. I forgot to show the edge before I started, but guys, on every single test, it is always the factory edge if I'm doing the testing, and I always strop it to where it's cutting paper extremely well. I do that before every test. Here's some kind of a food prep style test cutting this rubber tubing. I think this is an okay food prep knife. Definitely there's better blade shapes for it, but it'll definitely work. It's cutting through this rubber really easily. Obviously, it's pretty soft stuff. This part of the test is more just to kind of feel how it would be in a food prep type situation. All right, moving on to the leather glove. Kind of roll it up here, do some cuts on it. Let's see how she does. First cut, sliced right through easily. Second cut, a little bit more sawing motion was needed to get through it. Third cut, a little bit more sawing needed to get through, but it's still going through. And then the last one, it's a little more difficult still. So I can feel the edge, dulling as I cut the glove up. Action's still very nice and smooth. Let's try out the paper, see where we're at. We're having some difficulties. Having some difficulties cutting through the magazine paper at this point. Let's try a strap. I used to do the bungee cord in this part of the test, but I think I'm going to switch to the strap. I think straps are something that people cut more often than bungee cords. So this one got through it in 3 tries. Not bad. Also, the bungee cord was just really easy to go through. I think the strap is a better test. Back to the magazine paper. We're slicing, but not great. Now the hardest test, the polypropylene rope. This is a very hard, plasticky rope, and most knives do not go through it 3 times. I try to do 3 cuts. Some fail on the first one. Some, it just varies, but we'll see. First try, I didn't go through. Second try, did not. Third try, did not go through. Almost made it, but did not get through the polypropylene rope. I think the geometry is a bit thick. You know, it is nice and thin down at the edge, but it pretty aggressively and quickly gets thicker, and the tip is quite thick, which is good for, you know, utility cutting or piercing type tasks, but not so great for slicing. So, you know, this is a combination of the edge becoming dulled and the geometry. Let's do some utility cuts. It's cutting through it mostly. Sometimes it's leaving a little bit left that I have to break off. So at this point, it's not doing amazing with the utility cuts. We're pretty dull at this point. Now I should say, and I think I'm going to record a little bit of a disclaimer at the beginning of these videos. You know, there's a lot of factors that go into how well a knife cuts. You know, what type of edge that it has from the factory, and that can vary, you know, between the same knives from the same factory. It could vary, you know, depending upon if they have humans putting the edge bevels on or it's a robot. Even if it's a robot, it could vary. So a lot of variables there. And then, of course, the geometry of the blade, it's a big variable. And that wouldn't change between, you know, the same knife. But, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into it here. So, you know, take my cutting videos with a grain of salt, you know. There's a lot of variables, you know. And just because it's not cutting super well for me, yours could cut very well. All it is just, I got the knife, factory edge, I stropped it up so it slices paper really well, and then I cut some stuff. That's kind of about it. So, you can see after the stropping, we are back to pretty good. Still not the greatest. I think I'm going to strop it some more here. And I think there's a cut, and then I stropped for another few minutes, and then went back to the paper. And now we're good. It's not slicing as well as it was before I started the cutting, though. Still much better after those couple minutes of stropping. We're still not back to where it was, though. So, I don't know. I think I need to either strop it a little bit more or possibly even, I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to strop it more and see what it, you know, see how well the edge comes back. I might end up throwing it on the work sharp too. So, in conclusion, I think this knife is great for certain cutting tasks. For more slicing tasks, maybe not the best. Like I said, it's really nice and thin behind the edge, but it kind of aggressively gets thicker. So, love the knife. You know, action is amazing. Detail is perfect. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, folks. Adios.